Welcome into a live episode of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank member FDIC, our amazing, wonderful partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. And I am uniquely excited to be with two of my dear pals. It is just a joy to be with both of them on a Wednesday, Craig Stout and Maddie Lane. Maddie, I know you've had quite the last 48-ish hours since we last talked to you. I don't know if you're willing to talk much about it, but I know you've had some stuff going. How you feeling?
It's been a couple days here. Listen, we got football to talk about. We don't need to dive too far into my travels and my happenstances over the past, my unfortunate happenstances over the past couple weeks. But I am okay. I am here and I am ready to talk some football with one mustached man and one cowardly shaven mustached man.
Yeah, what happened?
Between the two of you.
What happened, buddy? Where'd the mustache go? You wore it for exactly 1 week. 1 week.
I got a couple work things coming up that I probably need to not have that mustache for.
Buddy, I was in front of my entire C-suite today and all of our executives in this mustache. And let me tell you, it plays. So,
again, cop mustache.
I think you made a mistake here.
Here's the thing,
vacationer mustache versus used RV salesman mustache.
Yours is good, and mine was there. And that's the difference.
It was there.
It was there.
Mm-hmm.
I shaved it off, and I was just stunned at the color of it coming off. Like, just, it is just pure lemonade white. Like, it was awful. But I had a lot of fun wearing it for a week. It was fun. By the end of it, I was done. And by the end of it, my wife was done with it too. Also, my boss told me I couldn't come back to work if I had it on. So there's that.
Okay, fair.
Look, yours is well received because it's actually good. And mine's just to have fun once in a blue moon.
It's not actually good. You just have to wear it. Like, you have to have the confidence to wear it, buddy. Like, that's all it is. Just rock it and people will eventually just be like, oh, okay, well, there's a mustache guy now. That's really all it is.
A piece of me liked it. A piece of me kind of liked wearing the mustache.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
I got a wedding coming up. I'm in in 2 weeks. Like, I got things I got to prioritize here. We should probably prioritize this show, though. It's probably what we should do. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here. We are so thrilled to be talking Chiefs football with all of you, and I'm thrilled to be with these two beautiful gentlemen. One quick thing before we get into the show: the KCSN golf tournament, still a few spots left. I think we're down to 2-ish, something like that. If you want to sign up, go ahead and click the link in the description of the show. It's August 18th. It will be an absolutely great time. We're going to have a lot of fun. This is the Tacos and Bourbon Golf Tournament at Creekmore, August 18th. So make sure, if you are interested, come hang out with us. Come have a good time. Link is in the description of the show. All right. So we are in the throes of training camp. We're a week and a half in.
And we got big news. The punter battle has been decided.
Yeah.
Matt Araiza has came out on top to return as the Chiefs punter.
And Craig,
yeah,
who was released today in the punter battle? What is the name of that player and how is it pronounced?
Listen, I only know him by his nickname Big Ed, and I refuse to acknowledge him by anything else other than that.
Smart.
They do this every year in camp. They bring in a guy so that they don't wear out their punter. Yeah, I know that anybody who's sat there and watched camp for very long knows that the backup punter, we watched Jack Fox basically pace around the entire outside of all of the practice fields at St. Joe for 3 straight days, just dropping the ball as if he was going to punt, but he didn't actually punt. They do this every year. They just bring guys in, figure out if they can improve. Just trying to push young guys here, but old Big Ed is no longer with the team. I'm not even going to try, Kent. You're not getting. I want to hear you say it. Maybe I'll be able to say it after you say it.
Eddie Shaplitsky.
Is that right?
I don't think you're.
Get that.
That's right.
I think you would have given us an Eddie Zapoplikli.
It's definitely Licky at the end.
It's Shaplitsky. The Z, I know. I know it sounds crazy, but it's Shaplitsky.
Big Ed.
Big
no longer
Ed.
with the team. Mm-hmm.
I think, and we'll talk about why I think he's gone, and it's nothing existential or anything. I think I think Matt Araiza won the job. I think there's a couple little things that are happening at training camp, and we'll get to in a little bit, talking about the wide receiver room weirdly. But before we get into that, one of the things that we're sitting here, kind of a light practice today for the Chiefs. They're getting tomorrow off. Friday ramping things back up, getting hot and heavy again. It's a big weekend of practices. Some contact will be happening over the weekend, letting the bodies recover a little bit the last couple days, then right back into it. It's a big opportunity. We are a week and a half away from the first game. The first for the first preseason game for this team. We are getting real close to that happening, and this is kind of where things start kicking up into gear a little bit more, right? Like this last week's going to be, I think, pretty open. And then after you get back from that preseason game, they kind of start maybe cutting some reps for some people. They kind of start moving some things around a little bit. They start settling some things up, and maybe you start seeing a little bit more movement of some young players that are starting to catch the eye. And this is where they start getting a little bit more intentional with some of that kind of stuff. So this is a big week leading up into that game. And I think there's, stuff that we want to see out of this team. There's things that we want to, get good reports on for this next week. And so we're just going to talk about them. Let's kind of talk about like where we're at with training camp, what we're seeing at a training camp, and the things that we want more of from this team, or what we want good news, good reports out of for the next week and a half before this game. What we need to see. What is it, Maddie? Besides, we need to see and we need to hear. We need to hear.
Yeah, hearing. You didn't say anything about hearing. You just said seeing. So I thought you guys were trying to read my lips. That was your bad as the host. So I think that it's worth noting that at this point in time in camp, the team is probably on to like their second round of installs. Like you're probably on your second install now. You've got the first stuff done. You start competing, the pads come on, you're flying through that stuff. And then you probably start incorporating a day, about the time pads come on, maybe the day after, you start incorporating, typically just by a general rule of thumb, the second install. So you're getting a little deeper into the playbook. You're starting to see more. And so, yeah, sometimes that's going to lead to more rotation amongst guys because you're getting into more, I don't want to say sub-package stuff, but you're utilizing role players a little bit more. You're playing towards players' usage of what you're expecting for the season. So the rotations might get a little bit wilder here for a little bit. They really might. You might get some more guys working in and out all over the place. But what I really want to see, the starting offensive line, let's find some continuity there. Are we simply just going to be using Jalen Moore as a utility offensive lineman? No problems with that. Like, that is fine. Mm-hmm. If that's the way it shakes out, because Josh Simmons has looked great, Juwan Taylor's come back healthy, Kingsley's doing his thing at left guard to where they want to let him run with it, that's fine. Jalen Moore can be a utility offensive lineman. Yeah, it's a little pricey, but guess what? The Chiefs have lost the Super Bowl twice because their utility offensive linemen aren't good enough. So who cares if you overpay for that spot a little bit, given how we got here? Or is he going to just start rotating at one position? Is he going to be splitting time at left guard with Kingsley? Is he going to be splitting time only at right tackle with Juwan Taylor and not bouncing back and forth? Is he ever going to take reps at left tackle? So just what's the offensive line continuity kind of look like as we come back from this day off? We've seen the guys with pads. We're getting deeper into the playbook. Here's the thing. Offensive linemen don't have sub packages. So you kind of start five guys. And so I'm just kind of curious to see when they iron out exactly who the starting five are going to be and quit using Jalen Moore with first team reps, essentially.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see where Jalen Moore ends up in all of this. Very interesting to see him move in to left guard. It was something that we have talked about on this podcast before. It's like, is there an opportunity for him to enter the best five as a guard rather than as a tackle? That was well before Josh Simmons had shown us that man is ready to play. I mean, we have heard reports from camp that Josh Simmons looks like the best tackle on the roster. And the fact that Jalen Moore's not even taking reps at the position that he backed up a Hall of Fame level left tackle for all these years tells you exactly who they want to win that job. They don't want any pressure behind it. Just go out and learn it. So I want to figure out if Jalen Moore can enter the lineup. Obviously, I think all of us sitting here on this podcast and most Chiefs fans would love for Kingsley Suamataia to win the left guard job, because guess what? You are set with rookie deals on the left side of your line, and you hope he plays well. I just like having that safety net of Jalen Moore. So I like that they're rotating him in there. We have seen a lot of Hunter Norzad and Mike Caliendo swapping on the second team there between left guard and center as well. So Norzad's not just a center. I really liked some of his tape at left guard as well. I think that left guard might be formulating to be the ultimate like competition spot on that offensive line right now. And I'm curious to see how it shakes out. So yeah, I'm with Maddie on that as it shakes out after that. I'm also looking for the rookie wall. We have had installs at this point, a couple rounds of installs. At a certain point here, Andy Reid camps, it's hot in St. Joe. You are being drilled on all this stuff. They're putting more and more and more and more on your plate. We've seen it time and time again. Even excellent players hit the rookie wall at some point in training camp. Do we see it start to happen with some of these guys, or do we see them step up into some of these roles? A guy like Noel Williams, with all this cornerback injuries and things like that are there, can he step up and take a spot? Can Jalen Royals continue to win reps in this offense with all of the wide receiver injuries? Do we see Josh Simmons not look quite as dominant as he has so far throughout camp? Is Omar Norman Lott going to step up and all of a sudden start to claim some more first-team reps? This is right about the point where we start to see some of that fall off, and we have seen that be indicators for the season for some players, and we've just seen it be blips. So paying attention over the next week or so to see if these guys just, are starting to fatigue in camp, or is this something where they're working through a new install, working through something that's out of their comfort zone, and then by the end of the week, as we go into, the next preseason game here, do they start to look the part again? Those are the guys that we've seen succeed, like Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis in very recent history here.
Yeah, you brought up one of the rookies, or you just brought up rookies, and I think one of the ones that I'm paying attention to a little bit is Brashard Smith in the entirety of the running back room. I'm very fascinated to see how that room starts shaking up, if anything shakes up really with that running back room, because there's times that Brashard Smith's pretty far down the pecking order down there, but he's a guy that has some unique skill sets, a unique type of game that doesn't exist in that running back room really outside of him, right? As a dynamic pass catcher, a guy with some speed, a versatile chess piece. I'm wondering when you start to see a little bit of clarity on his situation. Where is he in the pecking order? Is he being seriously considered for the 53-man roster? How serious are they about it, right? These are things that I'm just kind of curious. And it's not just about Brashard. It's just the entirety of the running back room, because and I think that's typically a difficult one to kind of suss out anyway, that the running back room as it is normally during camp. But I'm just fascinated to see if we start to get more clarity on where Elijah Mitchell really sits with this group. How is he getting looks? Is Kareem, how cemented is Kareem onto this roster? These kind of questions I have. I want to see more out of, from this running back room and just kind of see where this thing starts going a little bit more.
Is there anything else you would like to see going forward, Kent?
No, Matthew, I'd like you to jump in if you have anything, or if you have more Brashard Smith takes.
It's the Chiefs training camp is hard to get ideas on running backs, honestly. There's nothing. I'm intrigued to see where they're going to run guys through, I guess. But for the most part, you can't even look at the few plays that you get from, even if people do slip out some 11 on 11 clips and things like that. The training camp just isn't the best spot for running backs. I will say it doesn't seem like Brashard Smith has clawed his way into the upper tier of the rotation yet for running backs. And the majority of what we have seen or heard in terms of his hype has been in the passing game, which isn't to be unexpected, but I do wonder if he's got an uphill battle to try to find a spot. So I think you're going to find out more from him once you get into the actual games as we're moving forward, rather than the rest of training camp. So it's just really hard for, I think, running backs in this scenario. I mean, I guess, we got to, do you have anything else, Craig? I was trying not to
I was just
transition
going
out
to
of
say,
I want to
practices. We have all been watching practices for long enough, whether it be, Chiefs training camp practices, you two obviously played the sport for a while there. When we go and watch the Shrine game, the two positions that are the absolute hardest to evaluate in practices are running backs and linebackers, because so much of their game depends on not just the physicality of the guys up front in front of them in practice, but also the physicality to run through guys. And they just don't do that in practice. So you don't get a real glimpse of that. Rashard Smith could be awesome. Who knows? You're going to see what that looks like on game tape in preseason, when they're actually able to run away from guys, break tackles, things like that. It's just so hard. So much focus on the running back room right now, and whether it's good enough, whether or not it's good enough. I'm in more of the latter camp right there. But the large part of this is we don't know until you actually get in a game. It's just so hard for guys to get real true reps, especially in an Andy Reid camp. My goodness, they don't practice the run like at all in an Andy Reid camp. So you just have no real good idea of where these guys should slot until after about preseason week 2-ish.
I did think of something else.
Okay.
What's going on with the slot corner position? Because, buddy, I don't know how many more Jamari Conner clips I can see of him chasing anybody across the field for a wide open catch. It's training camp. It's practice. Don't need to overreact. But I feel like we have a solid sample size from the previous year. I feel like the more we watch, the more times I see these 11 on 11 plays to get out. I see a lot of easy completions over the middle of the field with a lot of a specific slot defensive back chasing. And I just, are we really up to do that again? And I get it. Christian Fulton's slightly hurt, right? Like, he's not playing, so we don't know when he's going to be back. But are we counting on that to fix this issue? As he comes back, is he definitely jumping right in to be the outside corner and have somebody else go into the slot? So I don't know. What are we doing here with the slot DB position? Because I don't think Jamari Conner is the answer. And that's more than just a training camp take. That's a whole
right. Take. Yeah, that's not based off of what you're learning in camp. Nobody seems to. This is a cornerback problem as a whole, Maddie. Because the obvious solution here is you want a guy that can push Trent McDuffie into the slot when they do go sub package. He can stay outside when they are in their heavier personnel and they're going through all of that, because Trent McDuffie is elite against the run, so you want him as close to the box as possible to come up and make plays against the run. He is your best slot corner and an all-pro one at that, so he's at his most effective there. You just need a guy that can push him inside, and they don't have a single body right now that can push him inside that is healthy and at camp. Remains to be seen when Christian Fulton's getting back. Andy Reid, when we went into camp, said, we're putting Christian Fulton on PUP. We're going to put Jawan Taylor on PUP. And Jawan is certainly a lot closer to coming back than Christian Fulton. Jawan's been back for several days now. We still have not seen hide nor hair of Christian Fulton. The more time that we go with Christian Fulton injured, the more serious that this injury looks. This is a player with a lot of injury history. It's almost like they needed more bodies in the cornerback room. A lot of people have hope for Noel Williams. We have yet to see it. We have yet to see him getting those reps. And in minicamp, Spags even made reference to the fact that it's like he's struggling a little bit to pick it up. We're going to see where he gets, and that's common. That's not trying to slight Noel, but that's very common here. So your best five includes Jamari Conner in the slot right now, and that should terrify all of us. It did not work out particularly well last year. He did have some big plays in moments, but those came few and far between, and they were interspersed between a lot of not great plays. Najee Johnson has also not showered himself in glory in training camp or last year as well. Those are the two next guys up as the Chiefs look at this right now, and it scares the crap out of me the way that this secondary is built right now, because you've got two safeties that have not played a ton together, and sure, they're in Spags' system. Brian Cook, has been here a little bit, and you're getting year two of Jaden Hicks. The hope is on Hicks to be the major impact guy. But if you are playing Trent McDuffie in a position that's not his best, and you don't have guys that you feel comfortable enough pushing him into the slot, you have to be terrified of the middle of the field. You got two safeties that haven't played together much. You got a slot corner that we've seen, regardless of who it is that we've seen, that gives up a ton of yards, gives easy separation. And your dime linebacker, which is Nick Bolton, coverage is not his strong suit. His pre-snap stuff is going to be great, but after the ball is snapped, your middle of the field is scary all of the sudden. And that's what really terrifies me. It's going to be easy to avoid Trent McDuffie, and he's going to see matchups on the outside that are not great for him at times. So it's just not a good situation overall for the secondary. And Seth Walder today posts a trade that proposes, with all of the Miami Dolphins injuries, and I made the joke earlier today in our group chat that the Dolphins have a worse CB room than the Chiefs and are the only team in the league. It's a joke. But they're talking about trading Joshua Williams to the Miami Dolphins for a 6th-round pick. That was just something that Seth Walder threw out there. It's not confirmed. It's not anything that's necessarily going to happen. That scares me. I know Joshua Williams is not competing for a starting role right now, but I want enough bites at the apple for these guys that are all around that same rung and that same level. Play the hot hand. Spags has done that before. So just try and get a guy that can be the hot hand for you for 2, 3, 4 games, and then switch another guy in, switch another guy out. A 6th-round draft pick for Joshua Williams right now does nothing for me in a room that I am already terrified of from a cornerback perspective.
Real quick before I give you some Josh Williams takes. Chris Roland Wallace also done some good things in the slot during camp so far this year. So that's somebody I'd like to see get some more opportunities, some more run. And I'm trying not to be too, let's see. So we start getting some movement. We have seen a little bit because Kevin Knowles has also inserted himself into the conversation with the twos as well. He's playing in the slot a little bit as well. So it's another one of those candidates to try to get something out of the nickel position. I do understand the logic though, Craig. I do understand the logic with maybe wanting to keep your inventory of cornerbacks and not just wanting.
I want to go down that road real quick. I was going to say, when we're talking slot guys too, I heard maybe from somebody that was at camp at one point in time during a particular drive that Jamar Conner maybe wasn't performing great on a drive, and they might have seen some Jaden Hicks step into the slot to round out a drive or two. Did
they move Shamari back to safety?
Yes, he was playing safety while Hicks was the one who was playing more in the slot. Now, I'm not saying this is man coverage. This is one particular instance during an 11-on-11. I believe it was a long drive drill, and it was not going particularly well. And then Hicks played some reps in the slot, and I just told the defense functioned better in that scenario. And that could have been the play calling. It could have been what they were working on. I'm putting it out there that there isn't a completely no chance that Hicks might have a little bit more of a versatile role than we think. Now, do I think he's going to be a full-time nickelback like a Tyrann Mathieu? Absolutely not, especially this year when he's trying to learn the safety spot. Just if we're going to put out other names that are maybe getting involved in the slot, I found it really interesting that a guy that I did not foresee that being his role necessarily got some slot reps that I was not, we hadn't made it to the social media yet. So we can go back to Josh Williams now.
No, that's good. And maybe there's a little bit of hope, right? Like that they're just kind of working through things. It's your early installs, and you'll start seeing move-in day might be that, day after week 1. Now you're going to start seeing, okay, Shamari, you're going to play deep. It's like,
and I like that. I think Shamari can play deep. Yeah.
I think the commentary has kind of been a lot around wanting to. Steve Spagnuolo loves Shamari Conner, wants to keep him on the field, but he's safety 3. I mean, he's deep safety 3, right? And so it's like he's got 2 better safeties. So that's where the desire for the cornerback position to step up, I think, is starting to come too, because you need to have more trust and confidence in your cornerback room if you're going to be able to do it. I don't know where I think I tend to lean keep Joshua Williams unless it's a really good deal. If it's a 2026, 5th or 6th round pick, I might think about it. The offer floated around from Walder was a 2027 6th. I think it'd take a little bit more than that for me. I think I would hold on to my outside cornerback inventory, unless I've just got such a log jam because I'm trying to play the numbers game and figure out who's playing where, that I'm, fine giving up one of those players because he's not going to make the roster. But as of now, I think Joshua Williams is making the roster, so that's why I think
so too.
I'm not sold Joshua Williams makes the roster if Fulton's healthy, so I'm much more willing to make that move. Fulton's not healthy, so that matters, but okay, if I go from Joshua Williams to Eric Scott Jr. or Darius Rush, do I really think I'm seeing any kind of significant step backwards?
Yes.
I mean, probably not.
Yeah,
I don't.
I think those guys will be cut.
Are we certain? Are we certain? Because with those guys, I can at least hold on. I can maybe run zone coverage, maybe, and I can't do that with Josh Williams. Okay, so you know what I mean? I'm just I don't know if there's a significant step back going from Josh Williams to those other guys. Now, they haven't played in the NFL very much. Darius Rush actually played some reps and he wasn't great. There's Josh Williams been when he's played. So you know what I mean? I don't know if there's a significant gap if I just have to replace the body of Joshua Williams with another super freaky athletic corner like Darius Rush, who maybe hasn't connected all the dots mentally yet. I don't know. What am I missing here? What is I'm not asking you guys to answer, just what am I really losing out if I'm the Chiefs, if I can pick up another draft pick? Now, this all depends on do I think that Christian Fulton is coming back? If I think he's coming back soon, I'm much more willing to make that deal. If it's not, okay, maybe I want to keep the continuity of Joshua Williams around, but if I'm the Chiefs, I'm not clinging to Josh Williams for really anything because I think he has fallen way behind Jalen Watson, Najee Johnson. They obviously would rather play Shamari Connor over him. They might rather play Christian Roland Wallace over him. So at that point, we're kind of talking like we are going to anytime we talk wide receivers. What am I really holding on to with my wide receiver 6, who's in his 3rd, 4th year now? We're not seeing the development we want. I don't know. I'm more willing to trade him, I think, than you guys are.
It's just outside corners. Because Chris Wallen isn't an outside corner.
Correct. But they don't seem to be terribly concerned with forcing Trent McDuffie inside here. So, I mean, that's the other piece of this. We all want him. Maybe I'm putting words in you guys' mouth, but I want him inside. That's where I think he goes from just being a really, truly, awesome corner to top shelf game changer in the slot. So I'm just looking for that. I always want to get field tilters in the position that they can be field tilters there. I just want to vibe check you guys right now, though. Do you remember when we did this gas station scale? And I was ridiculed for having the corners as a tier 3, the 3rd tier. So one rung up from the bottom.
Doesn't matter.
And a lot. You two were just like, wow, Craig really hates the corners. Where are we now? Just saying. Where do we sit right now? Do you guys feel good about this cornerback room still? You still holding tight to that? Has camp changed any of that? Has Christian Fulton's injury made you go, uh-oh, well, the injured guy is injured again, and so I'm worried about this room? Where do you stand right now?
I forget where I ranked them. I'm assuming I had them as a tier 2. And I probably was I'm just guessing I was on the lower tier 2, but I like Christian Fulton. I didn't know he had a knee injury and was undergoing surgery for it. So yeah, that does kind of matter. That said, you can always pencil him into missing a few games in a season. So that probably should have been baked in a little harder. I don't think tier 3 is definitely not crazy. And I'd probably get pretty close to that. But I'm trying to think. You said earlier, you jokingly said that the Chiefs had the worst cornerback room in the NFL.
Second worst because the Dolphins are worse.
I immediately sent 17 to 22 teams that I think we can very clearly have a pretty solid debate if the Chiefs cornerback room's better. So if I can get to 20 teams without even looking at them all, just randomly saying it, I don't know. I feel like a tier 2 still is acceptable as well.
What did I say to those several teams, Maddie?
No.
I think if you looked at the rest of the league, I think you would be relatively appreciative of what the Chiefs have. I think it's just when you look at
They at least have a stud. Yeah.
And I think that's what changed it. And that's really what weighs it. Because I'm not comparing, when I do the scale, I'm not comparing the Chiefs corner room to everybody else's. I'm doing it in a vacuum. So that wasn't part of the weighing aspect. But what does weigh it is that they do have Trent McDuffie. And that immediately right there, it puts you pretty far ahead of a lot, of any other teams. That immediately right there, it could be Trent McDuffie and us, and we're probably still a tier 3 unit. Like, just because Trent McDuffie's that good, now you throw out there Jalen Watson, who I think we talked about then, I'm a little higher on than I think you are. And that's where I already got to the 2. No Christian Fulton with a Christian Fulton, we might be a solid tier 2. Without him, okay. Now we're doing this Chamari Connor, Najee Johnson dance. So
I think just
Not
there's a strong desire to see that position improve. And I think when you look at Fulton and Noel Williams kind of being outside looking in right now, what you're looking at is last season's situation. And actually, I mean, it was fine. Two things. It was fine. It was better when Jalen Watson was there. And like, I think that matters. And also this team also, like, the reason the Chiefs didn't lose the Super Bowl is because Shamari Connor was, playing.
No, I mean, it wasn't going to help if the offensive line was healthy. Then maybe we're pointing to that, but like, it was not reason one for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to switch some gears. We'll talk right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Folks, nothing beats hanging out with the boys on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And the simplest way that you all can get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It is crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part is, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and then use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm giving Craig a second to recover from
I'm sorry. It's the first time I've seen the ad. Elite ad. Way to go, Tuck. Never fail to deliver, buddy.
It's so funny. And like, I think knowing Tucker also makes it even more funny. And like there was a line that he had on the last one that sounded like Tim Robinson, and like this group quotes Tim Robinson a lot. So it always made me chuckle. Yeah, it just, and the best part, like that, the way he would say that sound like Tim Robinson. I'm not trying to laugh at Eddie Chaplitsky's exit from the Kansas City Chiefs, and there was just no way to not laugh and then go from that. I saw the Chiefs today. Like, they worked out 4 defensive backs and 2 receivers today. They signed Kwame Laster, former Kansas Jayhawk, former Cincinnati Bengal, to play in camp this next week and start playing again for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think there's kind of like a correlation here, right, with what we're seeing at the receiver spot with all the injuries and Kwame Lassiter's addition. They need bodies in camp right now. We're seeing some injuries in protocol is Xavier Worthy. Hollywood Brown dealing with an ankle injury. We know that on the horizon, Rashee Rice is going to, likely be suspended at some point this year. And this week was just a stark reminder of the fragility of this wide receiver position. On paper, we've liked this wide receiver group for the last 2 years. I think there's a little bit of reality kicking in just this week, seeing a couple guys not out there and then knowing what's looming for Rashee Rice here soon. I think it was just kind of a reminder that, there's some really talented players, but like there's some players with some injury histories. There's some players with their own issues here. And it kind of not scared me a little bit. It was just kind of a reminder of the downside of kind of how this receiver room is built.
Or not built, because they're all 112 pounds. So they're going to get hurt throughout NFL season.
Rashee is plenty heavy here. We're not talking about him.
So you have a tiny wide receiver room and guys might get hurt. It happens. I don't know. I think it's just a training camp thing. They need somebody to go out there and catch passes on the happenstance that Xavier Worthy can't make it to the next practice because he's still in concussion protocol, and Hollywood Brown is essentially shut down for the rest of it because, we saw what happened last year and we just don't want that again. So I don't know. I don't think it's any kind of long-term thing. It doesn't make me think any differently or anything else about the wide receiver room other than they need someone to go out there and catch passes because Gardner Minshew and, Chris Oladokun got to throw to somebody.
And I wasn't trying to say that Kwame Lassiter's inserting himself into the receiver competition.
Oh, okay.
It was just having them out there and having them absent and it being so easy for them to be absent. Just kind of a reminder of just like, man, like that thing could go south so quickly. Like that receiver room could go south so quickly if they're not careful. And like, that's a little concerning for me. And it just having both of those guys out and then knowing Rashee's going to be out, it's like, this is what happened last year.
All of a sudden you're looking at Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, Jalen Royals, or Tyquan Thornton being your 3 wide receivers if this is during the Rashee Rice injury, and that is
no different than any other year.
And no different than the past couple of years. You're right. No, I mean, it is, but you're banking on, the offense to step up a little more. They've invested in it. They've stated their need for change. They've stated that they were unsatisfied last year. You got guys coming in a little slimmer. Your offensive line looks like it may be better. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about it. And so when you look at this and you look at some of the weapons, we got done talking about the running back room. That only matters so much because of Andy Reid's usage of them. But when you look at the wide receiver room, you are banking on 2 guys that one of them is injured a lot in Hollywood Brown. The other guy is much slimmer. And again, he's laying out for a pass. His head careens off the turf. It could have happened to anybody. That had nothing to do with his size, really. That is just kind of a freak incident. Why he went back to practice and then was put into concussion protocol is odd. I don't know if they just misread the situation or what the deal is there, but it gets pretty scary pretty quick in this room, and you're banking on 2 guys that, frankly, a giant hit could put them out for quite some time. One guy who it has repeatedly throughout his career, and another guy who remains to be seen, but is one of the lightest receivers to come out in the draft recently. So it makes you wonder, are they going to try and insulate this room a little bit more? I like the starting 3 when they're on the field together. Like I feel very comfortable with those 3 guys and this being a highly functional offense. I see how all those guys slot in. I see how you can use all of those guys. You can mix in guys like Tyquan Thornton if he makes it over a Justin Watson. You can mix in a Juju Smith-Schuster. You can mix in a Jalen Royals where you can there. It just, the more I stare at it, the more I wonder, how is this team going to put this all together? How is this team going to be able to make a functional wide receiver room if they encounter an injury at all in the first 4 to 6 weeks while Rashee Rice is out, because then it's done. And so you're not going to find a guy at this point. Nobody's going to give up a functional wide receiver right now, but it makes you wonder if they're going to start kicking the tires on some other guys to see if they can find somebody that maybe can contribute at the bottom of the roster.
I'm not scared in the sense that like I there's still so much time. I think with Travis Kelce being another year removed, and like I think we're all hoping that there's a bounce back from him. I think the hope is the offensive line's better, and you can kind of figure out a way to manufacture offense if you do start to incur some injuries. This team had to figure that stuff out for a large stretch of that season, and then like they never really were whole because Rashee Rice and Worthy and all of them never really got an opportunity to play together. We'll see. Like it was just kind of like what happens if it's week 3, Rashee Rice is injured, or Rashee Rice is out for suspension, and Hollywood Brown's ankle hurts. Like we're at Xavier Worthy, Juju, Jalen Royals, Travis Kelce. Like
week 13 of last year.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know, man. It's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking to think about. So hopefully they can kind of figure things out. Craig, you were talking about, hey, like maybe there's not really a ton of people that they can trade for. But there's some free agents out there still out there looking at some different positions that might still have some free agents. I mean, the Chiefs just signed a free agent, Kwame Lassiter. Yes, granted it was a lower tier one, but there's still some decent players out there on the market at a few different positions. Matt, is there anyone that you would like to see this team add based on both talent and need as you see the roster sitting right now after 10 days?
Well, you could go over to kcsn.com and see my latest article that I have written about 3 potential free agents that the Chiefs could sign that would make some sense. And I kind of make the case for them and the case against them. Those 3 players are Asante Samuel Jr., who was asked about in the chat like 100 times earlier when we were talking about corners. That would make some sense of the corner stuff we went through. I don't know, though. He dealing with a shoulder injury last year that caused him to miss most of the year. Also had offseason neck surgery. Probably not great for a corner whose biggest knock is he can't tackle. So I don't know how Steve Spagnuolo would feel about that. But if they get desperate for a pure cover corner, Asante Samuel would make some sense. He can't play press, but he's very good in off coverage, very good in zone coverage. The Chiefs would have to adapt a little bit of what they do to make him work, but he's available and he is a good football player when he's able to play. So at least keeping an eye on. The other big name, obviously, everyone wants to talk about is going to be Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle that was just released. Don't know the status of his foot. Even if he gets surgery, though, like even if he has to get surgery again for a Jones fracture, he could technically still come back later in this year or for the playoff run. So even if surgery is a requirement and it's not just something that the Raiders wanted, and like, whether he disagreed or disagreed with them or what, there's a chance he could still play this year just later in the year. He obviously would make a ton of sense next to Chris Jones because, well, he's an elite run defender. Chris Jones is an elite pass rusher. They both can play the run or pass it well when they are working next to somebody better than them at the other. So like, yeah, he would make a ton of sense if the Chiefs could afford him. And if you didn't want to go that expensive, the other guy that made sense to me would be Raekwon Davis, still a free agent, nose tackle from the Colts. Not near as good as Christian Wilkins, but I'll give me a lot cheaper. He would probably be more of a backup to Mike Pennell, but we talked about the nose tackle depth a lot. Sounds like Omar Norman Lotz added some weight so that he can play the run a little better. Still don't know how that's going to look because, again, this camp isn't for that, for how the Chiefs run it. So they still are pretty light in terms of run-stopping defensive tackles. So a Raekwon Davis would be a guy to keep an eye on if they decide they need another body behind Mike Pennell. So those are 3 names that jumped out to me amongst.
Yeah, no, Wilkins is number 1 on my list there. I don't think that I like Asante Samuel, but again, the injuries really, really, really scare me there. So I would rather try and improve the front, they're trying to get a little more pressure on the quarterback, allow you to play a little bit more press, allow you to do things, kind of dictate the tempo a little bit more on defense. So that's why I would prefer a Christian Wilkins over that. When I'm looking at wide receivers, Amari Cooper is still out there. Keenan Allen is still out there. Those don't really move the needle for me, but if we're looking at a semi-serious injury or we're looking for somebody to raise the floor, yeah, those guys probably come in and learn the offense pretty quick. Gabe Davis is also out there. I can, we can leave Gabe Davis over here. I'm not that interested in Gabe, especially when they've got.
Be pretty.
I think his foot might be pretty bad.
I think he'd be signed by now. I think he's a guy that would be signed by now.
He's 26. I mean, like he's got football in front of him if he had some gas left in the tank, and similar role to what Tyquan Thornton is filling right now, and who has obvious chemistry with Patrick Mahomes at the moment. So I'm fine with just banking on that if that's the case. The only other guy that I've been looking at a little bit here is Justin Simmons. If they are going to take a look at the secondary a little bit, I would be okay with them. Again, trying to play a few more 3 safety looks. Jaden Hicks can kick down in the slot. They can play a little bit different shells. Justin Simmons can still play. He's not great at this point in his career, but he's a floor raiser. And if it's between him and Mike Edwards, phenomenal on special teams. I get why he's here. I got no problems with him being on the roster, but I would rather round that out with Justin Simmons. Make him your safety 3 or 2 or whatever the case may be, and get a little bit more amoebic with that secondary. I would target a guy like that if I'm going to add to the secondary instead of trying to maybe make a guy coming off of a major injury and Asante Samuel try and slot in there at the corner position.
I'll throw one other name out there that hasn't been brought up yet. What about Rasul Douglas? Big cornerback, physical cornerback. Another name, like if you're looking for an outside cornerback, well, there's one that's still available too. Like maybe that's somebody that helps you solve some of your trust in your outside corners and maybe gives you a little bit more of that flexibility to move Trent McDuffie into the slot a little bit more. Like that would be another name I would kind of keep an eye on too. A recent report from Josina Anderson is that multiple teams are interested in Rasul Douglas at this point. So it could be that, there could be still a little bit of a market available for him. He would be another player that would, maybe help give you some of that flexibility that we so crave here.
Stephon Gilmore himself, just wait till after camp. Who's available? Gilmore also available. Like if you really want to go that route,
34, but you're asking for 1 year. Yeah,
he's a fine. I mean, he's gonna come in. He's gonna go play for somebody this year, and he's gonna be fine as an outside corner. At this point, both of those guys, but especially Gilmore, kind of like Samuel, maybe are best fits for what the Chiefs do, who run a crazy amount of press coverage. They ask their corners to play a lot of man, which I wouldn't say either one of those guys are ideal for. But again, if you're desperate for outside corner reps so Trent McDuffie can move around, like that's a possibility. What about Kendall Fuller? What about a Kendall Fuller reunion to come play in the slot? If we're
also
really
played safety too. He's played some deep safety in the back half of his career as well. So you're also getting available. A little bit more flex there. You having
safety for Spags at the end of his Chiefs career there. When he came back, they didn't want to mess with their cornerback symmetry there, and they played him at safety. I would entertain a Kendall Fuller. I would. Yeah.
He's only like 30 years old too. If I remember correctly. Like he's still pretty young. It feels like it's been forever, since like the Kendall Fuller for Alex Smith and or Kendall Fuller and a 3rd round pick for Alex Smith trade happened. But like he's only like 30 years old. Feels like forever though. Anyways, that concludes the free agent section of this. I don't know. We'll see. Do you think that yes or no? Will the Chiefs sign one of the guys that we just brought up? Give me a % chance one of them is signed.
2%. 2% chance.
Yeah, I think it's 8%. Like I'll go 9 just to be higher than all of you, and I can say I'm much higher than all of you.
Okay.
Is this our last position that we're ranking? The top 10?
Yes.
Is this it? We have one more position left in our top 10 for 2025, and it's the defensive tackles. We kept a defensive player or position back for Craig Stout. Very thrilled for that. Let's party. Let's do it. Let's see. How many tiers do you have, Craig?
Oh, gosh.
I have 4 tiers.
4 tiers. Maddie, how many tiers do you have?
6.
Every week you gain another tier. Like The rest of us are like playing in the.
I had 2
4 to
tiers
5
last year.
Last
Last
last one. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, because
I had
it's
2 tiers.
Fred and everybody else. But
Yeah. So
he did. It
I
was
do.
great.
I do need to go first though, so we can get some of my tierage out of the way.
Okay. Yeah.
And my first tier is phenomenal. It's one of my best tiers that I have. It's called the Leonard Williams tier, and it is Leonard Williams. He's by himself because everybody else kind of grouped together and it worked. Leonard Williams didn't really have a grouping for him. Very good player coming off of one of his better years, but I don't think that he is like a key cog to your run defense or your pass rush. I think he's better as a second fiddle to either one. Very good, but a second fiddle, or if he's, you can have him be your best run defending defensive tackle. Like he's good at it. That's fine. But I just mean that like, you're not going to plop him at the nose tackle and let him dominate the run game. If you best pass rushers Leonard Williams, you might be in a bit of a pickle. But if he is, your secondary guy that's playing off of an edge or a blitz heavy team, he makes a lot of sense. So I think he's very good coming off of one of his better years. He just didn't fit in with the rest of my groups, but I did have him over the likes. I mean, you're not going to see him on the list of a DeForest Buckner. I gave Leonard Williams not over a DeForest Buckner, who was one of the first guys on the outside.
I would have really liked it if your Leonard Williams tier was like Kenny Clark. Like that would have really sold it. Anybody other than Leonard Williams.
I have DeForest Buckner.
You're right. I should have done that. I should have done Leonard Williams tier, DeForest Buckner. Okay, I'll do another one.
And then the DeForest Buckner tier has Leonard Williams in it.
We
Yeah.
should
that's the only one named after
your
a person.
names. I think
Okay,
here's the tiers.
Here is the next tier. This one is the elite plugs. This is number 9, Derek Brown, and number 8, Vita Vea. Derek Brown returning from injury, and a lot of people probably don't watch the old Carolina Panthers, but Derek Brown is phenomenal. He is a fantastic nose tackle. These two guys will dominate the run, and they will change everything about your run defense by themselves, as we have seen throughout the years. We don't need to. I would assume at least Vea is making a lot of lists here, but like. Athletic freak, huge, massive, not a complete zero. Neither of these guys are a complete zero as pass rushers, but they absolutely own the run game and they change everything about it. You have to account for them, not just with numbers or leverage, but both at all times. So elite plug gets Derek Brown and Vita Vea.
Elite plug. Love it. Love it. Kent, you want to go next?
It's a double plug.
Sure. I'll go my first tier. Hall of very good. I'm not really as creative as Maddie is, and I just wanted to kind of give a nod to a tier of players that I think is playing very good football right now. They're not necessarily any traits based. This is a very diverse group from a traits perspective, where I think like there's probably some more categorized type tiers later, but Nnamdi Madubuike, I know he had a little bit of a down year last season, but he's number 10 for me. Leonard Williams is at number 9. Father Time has not knocked on Cameron Hayward's door yet, and he is at number 8. And a nod to Zach Allen, who I think had a tremendous season for the Denver Broncos and turned out to be a pretty good sign for them. I think he had a fantastic season for them. I'm throwing him as number 7. A very good group of defensive tackles. Not really a through line from a traits perspective, but I think all of them deserve some credit. Yeah,
your Cameron Hayward and Zach Allen were 2 of my first off my top 10 there. I really fought pretty hard on those 2 there. And again, Cameron Hayward he's just done it forever, like, and ever and ever and ever. And he's just always been this good. Like, it's wild that every year I'm just like, oh, the fall off's coming. And then he's just the same guy that he always is. Okay. My bottom tier here is guys that could drop a top 5 season. Number 10, Nnamdi Madubuike. Number 9, Leonard Williams. And number 8, Kobe Turner. Any one of these guys is very, very capable of turning in, like, one of these seasons that we all look back on and we're like, holy cow. I mean, Madubuike already did it. Leonard Williams has done it before. Kobe Turner on the way up here has shown real flashes of being able to do that. All it's going to take is one of these guys kind of putting it together for themselves, putting together a full season, and they are at the very top of this list. They're up there with the rest of the guys that we're going to be talking about above this. But Guys like Matabuke did not have a good season last year. Leonard Williams, we've seen some up and down play. Last year was up. Kobe Turner, still young, still got room to grow into it, but you see the flashes. It's just not always all together there every single season. So these are the guys that I wanted to include in my top 10 because I can definitely see them being top 5 if they just put together a decent season this year. And so, yeah, those are my bottom 3.
Kobe Turner is an interesting one. How do you separate him and Braden Fisk and then also Jared Verse? Because all they do is run stunts and loops and slant nonstop. I don't know who I think is the better between him and Fisk because they're kind of built the exact same, honestly.
They really are. And I'm just banking on the fact that I've seen it more consistently out of Kobe Turner. Like that's really all it is. Yes, it's a bunch of loops. It's a bunch of stunts. They clearly do a lot to free these guys up, but I don't know. We say that, and I've said it before. I'm not casting any aspersions here, but we say that as if these guys executing all these loop stunts and everything like that. Like that's a bad thing. It's like no, right. You got a bunch of guys that are really awesome at doing this thing, and you put them in these chances to succeed. And much like I had Jared Verse on my defensive ends list, I see Kobe Turner being a part of the solution over there. He's got a unique skill set that fits into that. In a way that when he was coming out in the draft, I like Kobe Turner a lot, but you had questions about, okay, is he going to win a bunch of one-on-ones? What are we going to see out of this guy? What are we going to see? And then you put him in this defense that slants, loops, gets guys that are free rushers, finds ways to really creatively use these guys. What Kobe Turner does in that scheme, other guys couldn't do. It's not like you could put guys that are up this list from there in the Kobe Turner slot and be able to get the kind of production and efficiency out of it that Kobe Turner gets. So I don't knock him for being in that kind of system there, fully knowing that he's got a bunch of dudes around him that are also excellent at the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to frame it. Jesus, that's a good way to frame it on why I'd like to sell high a little bit on Kobe Turner, because I do think that some people will watch like, he's not winning one-on-one. So like, what is the appeal here versus others? I think that's a really good way to frame it, and that is a skill. And yes, Kent, I will give my next tier. This tier has 3 people in it, so we're just ascending in the amount of people per tier. These guys are great at everything, elite at nothing. And when I say elite, I mean compared to D tackles. I don't mean good football players. I mean compared to the guys coming above them. Nnamdi Matabuke, Cam Hayward, and Jeffrey Simmons. I have these 3 guys all here. I think they all play the run and the pass equally well. Maybe you could make an argument that they're a little better, Hayward and Simmons, especially versus the run than the pass, but they can still affect the game as a pass rusher. You're not going to build your entire pass rush out of them, but for spurts or for seasons, they can be your best pass rusher. They can be your best run defender. You're never going to feel like you're lacking with these guys on your team in those roles. Whereas talking about the elite plugs before, Derek Brown and Vea aren't giving you a lot in terms of their pass rush, right? Like they're not a negative, but you can't build your pass rush around them. These guys, you really can put as a centerpiece for that and make things happen. I think I'm still waiting for Jeffrey Simmons to really have that full-on breakout. Like I think he's excellent, but he's like taken that next step. His foot's off the ground and it's nearing the ground, but he hasn't made landfall yet with that next step. And I don't know if he's going to. He might just perpetually be about this range on the verge of cracking into the elite of the elite defensive tackles. But if there's one of these guys that can be there, it's obviously, I think it's going to be him, and he's still pretty young. So maybe he is going to make that jump this year. But those guys are in this tier.
Kent?
Let's throw my next tier up. A brick wall.
It's true.
It's
brick shit house.
It's just a brick wall.
They can move. They can move real well.
It's a wide wall. Would
you call it like an elite plug?
He is. He's more than that. Okay. He is one of the most impressive run defenders I've ever seen, and it's just an absolute joy to watch him play football. He destroys early downs, and he's got a little bit more pass rush juice than I think people give him credit for. So I love Vita Vea. I know he was an immovable object when he played the Chiefs, but I love watching him play football. So that's mine.
I get that.
Cheers.
Yeah. All right. My next tier is the tier I called Legacy Goods. Number 7, Jeffrey Simmons. Number 6, DeForest Buckner. It's been a little while since we've seen Simmons and Buckner take over as defensive tackles, but they've also got a floor that's ridiculously high. When I watch these two play football, they demand a lot of focus. They demand a lot of attention. They just kind of do a lot of everything right. And they are a matchup nightmare if you are not prepared for them. They just never take it to that next level. They've had glimpses. They've had moments. DeForest Buckner certainly more than Simmons at this point, but they've had glimpses, and you just kind of look at a list, and I feel like you can't not have a list of defensive tackles in this year without including these two in them. But I can't point to one singular thing that I'm like, oh man, he's going to wreck this element of the game, or he's going to do this in a way that I'm not going to be able to block. It's just one of those, he's going to be good. He's going to be really good all game long. You're going to have to pay attention to him all game long. And that's the general vibe all season long. So it's just kind of like a legacy kind of honor here at this point, a tip of the cap. It's like, you got to be on the top 10, but also like take that next step. You're right there on the doorstep from being that next thing. You mentioned, Maddie, that Jeffrey Simmons is young. He's 28. He's been in the league 7 years.
Oh my
gosh,
gosh,
will be his 7th year.
I
mean, I know for a defensive tackle. I'm just saying.
So it's time to pay him top of market. That's
there you go.
What the Chiefs do.
It's just one of those. You're waiting for that next one. You're waiting for him now in year 7 to be, what you see the glimpses of, what you see that being all put together. So I just rank these two as like the legacy goods because they're always good, but it's just not that elite level.
I love that Craig's going to stay on brand and have Vea so incredibly high, just right up his alley.
You absolutely know I am.
I love it. All right, my next tier, because I still have 3 left. This tier is I believe the elite rusher tier, and this is Quentin Williams. I think he is better than everybody else in this list so far as a pass rusher. And while he's a little more hit or miss as a run defender, and you can knock him for that, and that's what's keeping him out of tiers above this, his ability as a pass rusher, especially when the rest of the defense isn't complete buns like it kind of was last year around him a little bit, he's phenomenal. You're not going to find many defensive tackles that have the one-on-one pass rush bag that he does, with the power, the lateral agility, the quickness to execute all of that. So a lack of run defense does keep him out of some higher tiers, but the ability to just be, quite simply a top 1, 2, or 3 pass rusher as a defensive tackle keeps him right here in his own tier.
There's some Chris parallels in there. Like there really is. Like especially like a younger Chris, right? Like I think Chris definitely found some things in some seasons late here.
Chris is more flexible, and I think that would probably what separate even prime Chris versus him. Chris Jones has a weird amount of flexibility and especially his upper body where he can really rotate while still moving forward. He can step through with his right foot and drop his left foot. He can just do some stuff that guys 300 plus pounds, including Quentin Williams, can't do. And it's that is where the separation is, but there's definitely very similar type of players.
I think there's some want to with run defense, right? And big play hunting that can happen when you're not operating within the entirety.
Stops don't pay the bills, buddy.
Well, Chris, the best version of Chris has been the one that's been more dialed into that.
It is, but Chris was able to combo that with the pass rush as well. The sacks pay the bills. I get sack hunting. I do. There ain't nothing wrong with that, but you're right. There is want to there.
Put my next tier up, Tug. Maybe. Game wreckers. This is my next tier. It's just guys that you absolutely have to scheme for. You have to know where they're at. That they have the ability to dominate game in and game out. They still got it. Quentin Williams is number 5 for me. Jeffrey Simmons is number 4. I still hold him in that regard. And then Jalen Carter is the ascending game wrecker that might be in an entirely different tier this time next year. But those are 3. I'll still call Jeffrey Simmons young enough, but these are 3 just game disruptors that are real problematic for defenses. You have to know where they're at. You have to have a plan for them at any given time, and you've got to build the game plan around them entirely. So that's my next tier players. Quentin Williams,
28.
number 5.
That's almost as old as me, Ken. Almost
older than me.
I think Jeffrey Simmons deserves some credit for being a Tennessee Titan too.
I mean, there is a lot of like, how much motivation do you have playing for a team that is going absolutely nowhere? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
there's
they're pointed
something.
in the right direction.
I mean, with Cam Ward, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But over the past 7
Didn't know.
seasons,
And Mike Borgonzi.
and Mike Borgonzi, yes, yeah.
What do you got, Craig? What is your team?
All right. Consistently top tier, the
Whoa.
Vita Vea. We have ended our questions as where Vita Vea is going to land. He's number 5 for me. Quinnen Williams at number 4, and Chris Jones at number 3. I may be the lowest on Chris here, but
Yo.
I don't mean this as a slight to any of these guys. When I think of guys that you're going to get consistency out of and game-wrecking ability out of, I look at these guys first. Quinnen Williams, an elite pass rusher, as Maddie talked about. Vita Vea, an elite run defender, as Kent talked about. Chris Jones really turns it on. Once we get to the cold weather there, we see a different animal in Chris Jones, an elite pass rusher. At times, we've seen him be an elite run defender as well. These are the guys that we have seen do it for long enough now, time and time again. They're not just flashes in the pan. They play at an elite level over and over again. I realize that that's coming out of my mouth, and I have 2 guys that I have not mentioned yet on this, and I will get to that. But these are the 3 guys that I look at as the current gold standard of veterans, the guys that we look at and say, okay, these are the older bodies, the guys that have been around for a little while that are still playing at that elite level. That's what this tier is for me.
Chris Jones at 3. So 1 year, he gets 1 year to be at the top post Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald stops him from being the best forever. And we're ready to say Chris Jones is taking that mantle. And Craig says, nah, buddy, get in that locker. You were going to 3.
3.
All right, Tuck, let's do my next tier. I have one person in my next tier. It is, I am so sorry. Please don't kill me, but Father Time comes for everyone. It's Chris Jones at number 3. I initially had him. I had him with Quinnen Williams in their own tier as elite pass rushers, but I was like, no, that's not fair. I think Chris Jones still, when he has to turn it on, has the ability to, that puts him on a different level than Quinnen Williams, but I don't know how much longer it's holding on. I mean, listen, Chris Jones is number 3 for me. I think he is definitely a tier below the guys I also have above him. I've said it at the end of the year. I think Chris Jones can still take over a game and play like the best defensive tackle he wants. The problem is it can't be any game. He kind of has to be a matchup that he's feeling, that he's ready on that day. You can go back. What was your Chris Jones memory from the playoffs? Like, what is your Chris Jones taking over memory from this past playoffs, right? Like, I'm not saying there's not good plays, but like, when did he take
There's
over?
a lot of good plays. Yeah.
Right, but he didn't take over. Or like, I think back to just even some of the games in the regular season, it's like, oh, the Chiefs need a play here. Where's Chris Jones? It didn't feel like he could just flip it on anytime he wanted this past season. And I think the run defense kind of did the same thing it's done in the past where it kind of dipped again. So he got down a tier for me. So he is number 3. And I am sorry, please don't hate me, but Father Time does in fact come for everybody.
Yeah, Tucker pointed out in the chat, Josh Allen on 4th down. I think there was pressure there. The Chargers game earlier in the year that we've rewatched, Chris Jones was really dominant there. But like it's kind of picking and choosing.
Yeah,
a little
it's not
bit
week.
there.
Yeah, it's not week over week anymore like it was 2 years ago. And again, I don't think it's any matchup. Like I think back to Chris Jones' prime, you can say you're going across from Zach Martin for the Dallas Cowboys, and guess what? Chris Jones won more than won a good amount of that game. He won enough in that game to say that's a really good game by Chris Jones. I don't think you're getting that this year if you put him up against one of the better interior offensive linemen. I don't think it's just, oh, this is still a mismatch for him. I do think that it's a lot more of it comes in spurts. And if it's a game that he's not feeling or they have a good game plan for him, he's kind of just good instead of elite. So I just think, I think we're at that time.
I think the eyes match that to a degree, but also didn't he have the highest pressure rate of any defensive tackle in the National Football League? And like, I think, and this isn't just to say like you guys aren't like, I think the eye test does show that a little bit. It's just trying to level those two things together does present its challenges, right? I think the version that we saw of Chris Jones. You know what? Is it my turn to throw a tear up?
It is.
Put my tear up.
Are we all haters?
No, I mean a little bit.
No.
It's still. I feel like he's the best of the best. I put two people in there. I think it's Chris Jones and Dexter Lawrence.
Weak constitution.
Yeah, I'm just not as creative as you. I look. Here's the thing with Chris Jones. I think the version that we saw that he carried the 2023 defense was the best version of Chris Jones because I think it was the most complete version of him. And down in, down out, he was more consistent and reliable than he'd been the entirety of his career. And the sack production wasn't all the same, but the pass rush productivity still was. But he was operating so well within the scheme, more consistently. Joe Cullen did a great job getting that out of him. And he was like, that was such a fun version of him. And they kind of weaponized him in 2023 during the playoffs, moved him around. They kind of saved that back a little bit, held that back a little bit. And then in the playoffs, they just started moving him around, up and down the defensive line a little bit more and let him go matchup hunting because, you're still trying to do that a little bit. It was a beautiful thing, the entirety of it. Last year, they moved him around. They let him move him around a lot more during the regular season. That cat was already out of the bag. And I think you saw him matchup hunt and make some big plays and make some splash and generate some pressure. But I don't think the entirety of the scheme was as functional as it was for a lot of reasons. It wasn't just the defensive line, but I don't think that was the best version of Chris Jones that we've seen. I think the year prior was why you paid him. And not that, and Chris Jones, don't get me wrong, like Chris deserved to get paid last year and he deserves to get paid this year. He's still the second best defensive tackle in the National Football League for me. I just, I would like to see him go back a little bit more to what we saw in 2023 because I think that's the version that, that's the goldest of jacket version of Chris Jones. And I think he's still got it in him. I think they need to get back to that a little bit. He's number 2 for me because Dexter Lawrence sitting at number 1 is unbelievable. He's also one of those guys that if you're not paying attention gets knocked for being on a terrible football team. But I mean, he's a brick wall that also is very disruptive for being a brick wall. So he's just a tremendous player. And I think he's the best defensive tackle in football right now. So number 1 for me is Dexter Lawrence.
All right. Drop my tier in here, Tuck. The highest highs. I've got number 2, Jalen Carter, and number 1, Dexter Lawrence. I'm going to start with Carter here because people are going to look at this and say, you think Carter is better than Chris Jones? Chris Jones is more consistent. We just got done talking about how Chris Jones maybe picks and chooses. He is more consistent than Jalen Carter. But what we saw out of Jalen Carter at the end of the year was him putting that all together for the first time. Seems to have his head screwed on straight, seems to be playing really good football here, and he's on a monstrous defensive line, but he is the star. He is the guy that you have to have eyes on at all times. You cannot leave him unblocked. You cannot leave him singled up. It's just he will dominate you in run, pass. It does not matter. And his highs are currently higher than what we see out of Chris Jones. And that is not to say that Chris Jones is taking a step back. Jalen Carter is just that damn good. Like, it really is truly amazing to watch him when he is on. He is an elite presence on the interior. And the fact that he is number 2 tells you how good Dexter Lawrence is. Sexy Dexy. Of course, I was going to have a nose tackle at number 1. Like, come on, guys. You know me. But it's legitimate. It's not anything that I'm trying to swag up here or anything like that. He is number 1. He is the best defensive lineman right now that is playing on the interior. There is no questions asked about that. He is an elite run stuffer, even better than Vita Vea. Like, he is, and that's high praise. Coming out, getting injured, playing around 500 snaps this season, and still putting in 9 sacks when he's competing with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and now is about to be competing with Abdul Carter. That Giants defensive line is freaking terrifying, and he might be the best piece of it. That is saying a lot for him. He is an absolute menace. He gets double teamed 75% of the time, and it doesn't matter. His ability to, remove hands, shed blocks, get into the backfield, make plays. You can't do anything in either A gap and sometimes either B gap, depending on how good your interior offensive line is. He is just that good of a player. He controls the middle of the park so well and allows them to do so much on that defensive line. They get to pin their ears back more because they know he's going to cover multiple gaps on the interior there. And he is no slouch. You don't feel bad having him on the field on passing downs because he's going to be effective. He is the complete package. And for a guy his size that moves the way that he does, that does everything that he does, the fact that he has just continued to chain together good seasons. Last year was not the peak or the pinnacle. I truly believe that. I think he's going to continue to grow and is just going to be this guy that we talk about, not in the same realm of Aaron Donald, not trying to say that, but you got to pay that kind of attention to him here in 2 or 3 years.
All right, my final tier is going to look very similar, so we will be quick through this. These guys are taking the torch. We got Jalen Carter at 2. We have Dexter Lawrence at number 1. Jalen Carter moves like a young Warren Sapp. He's a little bit smaller than, shorter than some of these other defensive tackles that we talk about, like in terms of elite pass rushers, but he has just an insane amount of explosive ability in his first step. The lateral agility is through the roof. And then he adds all that flexibility we were kind of talking about with Chris Jones. So and then with the violent hands, he does it all, but he's definitely a little bit more of a pass rusher. Just the way he moves reminds me of some Warren Sapp action. And then Dexter Lawrence is hey, what if I took 99% of Vita Vea and 99% of Chris Jones, but put it in the same player? Right? He's not as good of a pass rusher as a prime Chris Jones. Yeah, he's not as good of a run stopper as prime Vita Vea, but we're pretty darn close to both. And he can do them together. I think he's really impressive as a player because on neutral downs or even on first downs, you can align him at nose tackle. And if you just want to drop back and throw, guess what? He can still get to the passer, but you need him to 2-gap in a run. He can 2-gap. Oh, you need him to cross the face of the center and just penetrate the backside A-gap. He can do that too. He can do everything he's asked to do from that nose tackle spot on any down. So he's definitely taken, I think, the reins as the best defensive tackle. Jalen Carter, I'm giving a little bit of a boost from young, growing. I can't get out of my mind how dominant he has been at college and then how dominant his flashes are in the NFL, that think that the consistency's coming as he really continues to lock in and grow. So he's younger. There's a lot more space for him to grow. So I give him a little boost into that tier. Here are all of our final rankings. I don't know if we all need to read through them. I think Tucker's got a consensus board coming up in a second that we can look at. But a lot of crossover here. We had a lot of similar
Maddie,
names.
why do you hate Vita Vea so much? I just have questions about that.
Yeah, I get a very good answer. It's called that the running the ball isn't as important as throwing the ball.
I'm just trying to say what makes you hate that man so much, or is it just because Derek Brown needed to be here and you needed the elite plugs here? Because I think maybe that's why he's.
I do like to put guys of similar skill sets in tiers because I think it's a little bit difficult to compare Chris Jones to Vita Vea since they do opposite things entirely.
They play completely different positions,
right? So I do like to put them next, but no, I'm always going to gravitate towards guys that can rush the passer, and Vita Vea, that's not his. He can do it, but it's not his selling point. So they're always going to be towards the bottom. And yeah, elite plugs did need to be on there somewhere. And Derek Brown top 10 is cool. Derek Brown top 5 is a little bit difficult. You guys hate Derek Brown though, so I just watch Panthers games.
It's just because he's hurt. That was the thing that was kind of keeping me from going through all that.
Consensus.
Okay, Tucker.
Yeah,
you got it.
Yeah, here's a consensus board. Out of 30 points, as you guys know how consensus boards work, you get 10 for being placed first and 1 for being placed 10th. You guys can figure out everything else in between. I believe you guys
for
are
9,
smart.
Tucker.
Wait, are they ranked 9 or do they get 9 points? Is what you're saying? they get 2 if they're ranked 9. If 9 points if they're
Perfect.
second.
That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So Dexter Lawrence gets the clean sweep 30 out of 30. Jalen Carter number 2 with 26. Chris Jones number 3 with 25. Quentin Williams 20 points. Number 5 Jeffrey Simmons with 17. Vita Vea at 6 with 14. Cam Hayward at 7 with 8. Nnamdi Metabuke at 6 points. Number 9 Leonard Williams at 5. And number 10 DeForest Buckner sneaking on there with 5 whole points, I believe. Let me go check my sources. I believe DeForest Buckner sneaks on because of Craig. I think Craig was the only person that had DeForest Buckner on there, and he sneaks in with 5 points.
I love it.
Does Leonard Williams get a bonus point for having an entire tier named after him since his name was
maybe
on
he
there
should-
technically for time?
Let me
No, but
see. Did
DeForest
he-
Buckner does.
Yeah.
So move him up to 9.
It's true. He got the tiebreaker. Leonard Williams got the tiebreaker because he had the tier named after him. They were both tied, and I said, "Well, I got to give the 9 nod to Leonard Williams because he is a tier."
Can I just say that of all the summer content ideas that Maddie's had, there's been a lot. That's my favorite one easily.
Listen, to get us to the summer, there's one person doing the majority of this work here. Okay. And
Also receiving votes. Zach Allen had 4 points. Kobe Turner had 3.
Head.
Derek Brown had 2. Yeah, and all those guys were just on one list, by the way. Zach Allen, Kobe Turner, and Derek Brown.
He said small head. I don't even know if that joke ever even.
I don't think that joke ever left the draft. The
We
draft
don't need,
chat.
we don't need
Yeah.
to elaborate. It's been 80 minutes. That's going to do it for this episode
Jesus.
of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
your number one CJ 95 hater podcast, number 3 D tackle.